Just 2 days after Ellie's horrific death, Carol and husband Matthew had to do something no parent can ever imagine having to do: identify their daughter's body.
On the Sunday, we were picked up and driven to the mortuary to see Ellie. They told us that they had to put plasters over her neck so that we couldn't see the stab wounds, all 13 of them. But she looked at peace. We put a rose on her. Rose is her middle name. And it was heartbreaking. As I've said before, no mother should ever hold the cold hand of their murdered child. That is wrong. That is disgusting. That is horrific.
He brought me the load one day, and I suspected something was fishy. First off, the truck wasn't even loaded right. It was a Ford F-150 rental truck that there was way too much tongue weight on the back, so the trailer had the headlights of the truck sitting way up, pointing up, because it wasn't weighted properly. So right there, I was like, there's no way this thing made it 3,000 miles without being pulled over. So I opened up the trailer, and I just kind of scanned the situation, and I noticed a little wire hanging in the ceiling. And I went up and looked over, and it was a battery pack connected to some device with a red dot, red blinking light, and I knew it was a tracking device. And I just put my fingers up to my mouth. I go, don't say a word. And I looked out my front window out of the curtains, and I saw across about 300, 200 yards out, a Chevy Impala sitting off in the distance, and I knew that trailer was being tracked and followed by the feds.
Did you know that Utah is one of the few states that still allow execution by firing squad, and the last person to die by firing squad was this man in 2010? This is Ronnie Lee Gardner. In October of 1984, he killed 37-year-old Melvin Otterstrom during a robbery in Salt Lake City by shooting him in the face. He then went to his funeral and pretended that he was a childhood friend. It would then take 3 weeks for Ronnie to be located and arrested. While being moved for a court hearing in April of 1985, Ronnie would try to escape the Utah State Prison using a smuggled revolver. During the attempt, he killed a 36-year-old attorney named Michael Burdell by shooting him in the eye. Ronnie spent most of his childhood and adult life in jail and even successfully escaped the Utah State Prison once before the murders. Ronnie was convicted of 2 counts of murder. For the first count, he was sentenced to life in prison, but for the murder of Michael, he was given the death penalty. Ronnie was given the option to either be executed by firing squad or lethal injection, but he chose the firing squad because of his Mormon background and the old doctrine of blood atonement. His last meal was steak, lobster tail, apple pie, vanilla ice cream, and 7-Up. He also spent his final moments watching the Lord of the Rings trilogy. On June 18, 2010, he was then restrained to a metal chair and had a hood placed over his head at the Utah State Prison in Draper. 5 volunteer police officers lined up and stood about 25 feet away from him while aiming at a white target covering his heart. They then counted down from 5, and right before 2, they started firing. Ronnie was dead within 2 minutes. This case gained massive media attention because Ronnie was the first person to die by firing squad in the US in 14 years.
Horrifying Women of History, Part 2. Elizabeth Bathory, known as Bloody Mary, also known as the Blood Countess, was a Hungarian noblewoman who lived in the 16th and 17th centuries. She is known for her alleged sadistic practices, including torturing and killing young girls and bathing in their blood in the belief that it would maintain her youth and beauty. According to historical records, Bathory began her reign of terror by targeting young peasant girls in the villages surrounding her castle. She would lure them to her castle under the pretense of offering them work or shelter, and then subject them to unspeakable horrors. Bathory's methods of torture were said to be brutal and creative. She would often beat her victims, burn them with hot irons, or use needles to prick them all over their bodies. She would also bite chunks of flesh from their faces and breasts and pour boiling water or oil on them. But Bathory's most infamous method of torture was her blood baths. She would drain the blood from her victims and then soak in it, believing that it would keep her young and beautiful. It is said that she killed over 600 young girls in this way. Bathory's crimes were finally exposed when a Lutheran minister received a complaint from a local woman whose daughter had gone missing. They investigated the matter and discovered evidence of Bathory's heinous crimes. Bathory was arrested and put on trial in 1611. She was found guilty of 80 counts of murder and sentenced to life imprisonment. She was walled up in her castle and left to die, alone and forgotten. The story of Elizabeth Bathory is a chilling reminder of the horrors that human beings are capable of. Her legacy has been immortalized in literature, film, and popular culture, but the reality of her crimes is far more disturbing than any fictional account could ever be.
The deadliest sniper in history. So it's this guy named Simo Häyhä, and he was a sniper during the Winter War between Finland and the Soviet Union from 1939 to 1940. Now, during this time period, it's a war going on, of course, but he had 505 confirmed kills, bro. 505. Do you know how many people that is? As a sniper?
Yeah.
You snipe
sniper?
500? Yes, bro. He sniped 505 people, and this is the craziest thing, bro. He didn't even have a scope.
So he's just out here no scoping people.
No scoping. He's no scope 505 people, bro. That's
What?
crazy.
No,
Yeah, he lived from 1905 to 2002, I believe.
Okay.
So he lived a long life, but nah, he was deadly.
This is the evening update for today's live-streamed mass shooting in Louisville, Kentucky. 23-year-old Connor Sturgeon was an employee of the bank and was notified he was going to be fired. Officers arrived on scene within 3 minutes of the initial 911 call and found that the suspect was armed and shooting with a rifle. Police engaged the suspect, who was pronounced deceased a short time later. Sturgeon also live-streamed the shooting on Instagram. Meta, the parent company of Instagram, said it was in contact with law enforcement and states it quickly worked to get the footage taken down. Police say they've never had any prior engagement with the suspect. The 4 victims were identified as the following: 63-year-old Tommy Elliott, 64-year-old Jim Tutt, 40-year-old Josh Barrick, 57-year-old Juliana Farmer. 9 additional people were transported to the hospital. 3 of them have been discharged. 3 others are in critical condition, including a recently graduated police officer who was shot in the head and had to have brain surgery. And of course, no mass casualty incident is complete without politics. Many local Kentucky politicians, all the way up to the president, have released statements today, many calling for more gun control laws to be put in place. The Family Assistance Center that was open near the shooting today remains open with assistance of the Red Cross. Louisville Mayor Craig Greenberg, who is also a survivor of a workplace shooting, has been in the public a lot today and has continued to ask for prayers for all those involved.
Hold it, cover for me. .113 Baker, we're making entry from the east side at Preston and Main. Officer. God damn it!
New information from Everman Police Tuesday regarding Monday's extensive digging beneath a recently poured concrete patio behind the home where Noel Rodriguez Alvarez lived. It began with a large piece of indoor-outdoor carpet found in a dumpster near the home. Police say the 6-year-old boy's stepfather, Arshdeep Singh, disposed of it the night before he, the boy's mother, Cindy Rodriguez Singh, and 6 other children flew from DFW to New Delhi, India. Police say the same piece of carpet was once on the floor of an older shed that stood on the property until a month ago. Both the carpet and the concrete where the shed once stood caused cadaver dogs to react.
One of the interesting pieces is that the carpet wasn't even at the house. It wasn't even at the location. So for the canines to be able to alert to a piece of evidence at one place and then go over and alert again where it was previously, I mean, all that tends to add up. So it does lead us to believe that there were human remains at one point in time in the shed that used to exist where now that concrete patio sits.
The concrete dig did not yield any physical evidence, and the city will repair homeowner Charles Parsons' yard. Meantime, Parsons shared his thoughts with Fox 4 about the ongoing search for Noel.
I know the police are desperate to find the boy, but they're looking in the wrong place is all I can say, because he's not here.
Police are strategizing where the next search areas will be. We reached out to the FBI on Tuesday regarding efforts to find Cindy Rodriguez Singh and her husband Arshdeep in India. A spokeswoman told us the agency continues to support the investigation, but it cannot reveal specifics. All of it underscoring lingering unanswered questions.
We're on 3 weeks, 4 weeks of this since this case started, right? And so she's been out of the country. Surely she knows this is going on. Surely she knows that we're looking for Noel. And had there not have been anything suspicious, or had there been a reasonable explanation for this, you would have thought somebody would have reached out and told us that. And we haven't had that contact.